What if I told you that some of Hollywood's most talented black actors have suddenly vanished from the big screen? These weren't small-time performers. They were box office draws, cultural icons, and powerful voices who seemed unstoppable. But somewhere along the way, the roles dried up, the calls stopped coming, and the spotlight quietly shifted away. Was it politics, typecasting, or something deeper that made Hollywood turn its back on them? Here are 13 black actors Hollywood won't cast anymore. 13. Taye Diggs. Taye Diggs once had everything Hollywood could ask for: charm, good looks, and undeniable talent. From The Best Man to Brown Sugar, he became the face of smooth-talking, confident leading men who brought class and charisma to every role. Audiences loved him, critics praised him, and studios saw him as one of the few black actors who could carry both romantic and dramatic films. But then something changed. As Hollywood shifted its attention toward younger faces and superhero blockbusters, actors like Diggs quietly slipped through the cracks. Despite staying active on stage and television, he rarely got the big screen spotlight that once defined his career. Taye continued to prove his talent with roles in series like All American. But the movie offers that once poured in began to dry up. Many say the industry moved away from the kind of romantic, character-driven stories that once made him shine. He never fell from grace. He simply became one of those actors Hollywood forgot to call back. Yet, for fans who grew up watching his smooth confidence light up the screen, his absence feels like something's missing. It's not about his talent fading, it's about Hollywood changing its taste and leaving him behind. 12. Gary Jordan. Gary Jordan was once one of television's most magnetic faces. His role as Warwick Brown on CSI, Crime Scene Investigation, turned him into a household name. With his striking looks, smooth voice, and cool confidence, he seemed destined for a long, steady Hollywood career. But just when it looked like things were about to take off, his life took a darker turn. Behind the fame, Gary struggled with personal demons, legal troubles, addiction, and financial hardships that quickly overshadowed his talent. The industry that once celebrated him quietly began to close its doors. When he left CSI, fans expected to see him jump into film roles or new major shows, but those offers never came. Instead, whispers of behind-the-scenes issues and bad press kept his name out of casting rooms. Hollywood has a short memory for redemption stories when it comes to black actors, and Gary's story is a painful reminder of that. He has since worked on smaller projects, trying to rebuild his career step by step, but the golden spotlight of early fame has long dimmed. Once seen as a rising star, Gary Jordan's disappearance shows how quickly Hollywood can turn its back, even on those it once helped create. 11. Megan. Megan Good was once everywhere. In romantic comedies, dramas, and thrillers that made her one of the most familiar faces in early 2000 black cinema. With her effortless beauty and emotional depth, she stood out in movies like Deliver Us from Eva and Think Like a Man. Casting directors loved her versatility. Audiences loved her charm. But over time, Megan's on-screen presence started to fade. Hollywood's limited roles for black women, especially those who don't fit a particular type, slowly pushed her into the background. The industry that once embraced her began offering fewer and fewer chances to shine. Despite her talent, Megan often found herself typecast in similar roles: the pretty girlfriend, the supportive friend, the background beauty. She wanted more meaningful characters, but Hollywood wasn't listening. When she stepped away for a while to focus on her marriage and personal life, her absence gave the industry another excuse to move on. Still, Megan hasn't disappeared entirely. She continues to work on independent projects and faith-based films, staying true to herself and her craft. Her journey is proof that sometimes it's not about fading talent. It's about an industry that stops making room for you once you stop fitting its narrow idea of success. 10. Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes wasn't just an action star. He was a powerhouse. From New Jack City to Blade, he brought power, presence, and skill to every role. He wasn't just acting, he was defining an era. The Blade trilogy especially made him a legend, laying the foundation for the superhero movies that dominate today. But just when his career was at its peak, everything came crashing down. Legal troubles, tax evasion charges, and time behind bars changed the way Hollywood saw him. The studios that once relied on him for box office hits quietly distanced themselves. When Snipes returned, the landscape had completely changed. Younger action stars filled his space, and the industry seemed unwilling to give him another shot at leading roles. He made a comeback in Coming to America and Dolomite Is My Name, reminding fans of the charisma that made him unforgettable. But even now, Hollywood treats him like a risky bet, rather than a legend who helped shape modern action cinema. Wesley Snipes may no longer dominate the big screen, but his influence still runs deep, proof that you can erase someone's opportunities, but not their impact. 9. Vivica A. Fox. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Vivica A. Fox was unstoppable. From Independence Day to Kill Bill and Two Can Play That Game, she was a leading lady with fire, humor, and confidence. She could do comedy, action, or romance, and still own the scene. But as years went by, the offers slowed. Hollywood, infamous for pushing women, especially black women, out once they pass a certain age, simply stopped giving her the spotlight she earned. Typecasting didn't help either. Instead of leading lady roles, she was pushed into supporting parts or TV cameos. Vivica didn't take it quietly. She reinvented herself through television, reality shows, and her own film projects, proving she still had the same spark. Yet, despite her hustle, major studios rarely called again. Some believe her outspoken nature and refusal to play by Hollywood's silent rules made her difficult. Others say the system simply forgot how to use a strong, confident black actress who refused to fade. Whatever the reason, Vivica's story reflects Hollywood's double standard, where women are expected to stay quiet, look young, and never challenge the system that sidelines them. 8. Columbus Short. Columbus Short had the kind of charisma that made him stand out instantly. He danced his way into fame with Stomp the Yard, and later earned serious respect through Scandal, where he played Harrison Wright, sharp, loyal, and powerful. Fans loved him, and his future looked bright. But behind the success, his personal life was spiraling. Legal issues, domestic disputes, and substance abuse rumors started dominating headlines more than his acting. Hollywood, always quick to protect its image, didn't wait for explanations. The calls stopped, the offers vanished, and his once promising career began to crumble. He's since spoken openly about his struggles, trying to rebuild both his life and career. Despite moments of comeback, the mainstream industry hasn't fully embraced him again. His story isn't just about mistakes, it's about how fast Hollywood drops its stars when controversy hits, especially black actors who aren't given the same grace as their white counterparts. Columbus Short went from one of television's most promising stars to another name on the list of talents Hollywood decided to leave behind, not because he stopped being good, but because he stopped fitting their version of perfect. 7. Larenz Tate. Larenz Tate was once the face of black cinema's golden era in the 90s. His breakout roles in Menace to Society and Love Jones turned him into a household name. Smooth, emotional, and powerful all at once. Fans saw him as one of the most gifted actors of his generation, capable of switching from street grit to romantic poetry with ease. But somewhere along the way, Hollywood stopped calling. Despite steady work and consistent performances, Tate was rarely given the big studio roles he deserved. Instead, his talents were quietly sidelined as the industry shifted toward blockbuster trends and younger stars. Even when he appeared in shows like Power, proving he still had an unmatched screen presence, mainstream Hollywood didn't take notice. Some say it's because he never played into the industry's politics. Others believe Hollywood never knew how to use a black actor who could outshine the script. Larenz Tate remains a fan favorite, the kind of actor whose work aged better than the movies themselves. But while audiences remember him as a legend, Hollywood acts as if he were never there, leaving fans wondering how someone so talented could be so overlooked. 6. Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown was once Disney's golden boy. His comedic timing on That's So Raven made him a fan favorite, known for his funny one-liners and energy that lit up the screen. He had the kind of charisma that promised a long, successful career. But fame came too early, and the pressure hit too hard. As he grew older, his public image began to spiral. Erratic behavior, drug use, and troubling interviews turned him into a tabloid headline rather than an actor. Hollywood, known for cutting ties when things get messy, quickly backed away. The industry that helped build him was nowhere to be found when he needed support. Instead of helping him recover, Hollywood simply moved on. Years later, Orlando made attempts to turn his life around, opening up about faith and recovery. But even with improvement, the stigma stuck. Casting directors rarely take risks on actors with public meltdowns, especially young black men once seen as unpredictable. Orlando's story isn't just about talent lost. It's about an industry that loves stars when they shine, but walks away the moment they fall. 5. Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett's rise to fame was quick and powerful. His role on Empire made him one of television's most recognizable faces, talented, charismatic, and unapologetically proud of his identity. He wasn't just acting, he was inspiring people around the world. But that image shattered overnight when he was accused of staging a hate crime against himself. The story shocked the nation. The once beloved star suddenly became a symbol of controversy. Whether it was poor judgment or something deeper, the damage was done. Hollywood turned cold almost immediately. His character was written out of Empire, and no studio wanted to be associated with him. What made it worse was how fast the same industry that had praised him now acted as if he'd never existed. In the years since, Jussie has stayed out of the spotlight, but the shadow of that scandal still follows him. His fall wasn't gradual, it was instant. A career that once seemed unstoppable became a cautionary tale, reminding everyone how fame can vanish overnight when controversy strikes in the age of headlines and social media. 4. Mo'Nique. Mo'Nique was once at the top of Hollywood's world. After her jaw-dropping performance in Precious, she took home the Academy Award, a dream few actors ever reach. But that victory didn't bring her the respect she deserved. It brought her backlash. Mo'Nique spoke openly about unfair treatment, pay inequality, and the way black women were marginalized in Hollywood. Instead of being heard, she was labeled difficult. The same industry that cheered for her on Oscar night quietly shut its doors soon after. Her public fallout with Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, and Lee Daniels became one of the most talked about feuds in entertainment. But behind all the headlines was a bigger truth. Mo'Nique wasn't blacklisted for lack of talent, she was punished for demanding fairness. Years later, she returned with Netflix specials and interviews that proved she hadn't lost her edge or her humor. Still, Hollywood hasn't given her the major film roles she once commanded. Her story stands as a bold example of what happens when a black woman refuses to stay silent. She doesn't fade, she's frozen out. 3. Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard had everything a leading man needs: charisma, depth, and range. His Oscar-nominated role in Hustle and Flow made him one of the most respected actors of his time. He then landed Iron Man, a role that was supposed to make him a global superstar. But behind the scenes, things didn't go smoothly. Disputes over pay and rumors of being hard to work with led to him being replaced by Don Cheadle. In the sequels, that single event marked the start of his Hollywood slowdown. Though he later found massive success in Empire, the same reputation followed him. Hollywood seems to have a short memory when it comes to talent, but a long one when it comes to whispers. Howard's outspoken nature and refusal to play by studio politics made him both admired and avoided. He continues to work on smaller projects, proving his skill hasn't faded one bit. But the big blockbuster opportunities, the kind he once stood on the edge of, never came back. His story shows how fast Hollywood can turn its brightest stars into cautionary examples. 2. Stacey Dash. In the 90s, Stacey Dash was the definition of cool. Her role in Clueless made her one of the most recognizable faces of the decade. Stylish, witty, and full of personality. She had everything going for her, and fans expected her career to last decades. But as time went on, Dash's outspoken political views began to overshadow her acting. Her strong public statements made her a controversial figure, dividing her fan base and turning many in the industry away. Hollywood has always been political behind the scenes, and once you take a side that doesn't align with the mainstream, it can shut you out completely. That's exactly what happened to Stacey. The phone stopped ringing, the roles disappeared, and she became more famous for her interviews than her performances. Despite later expressing regret for some of her past words, Hollywood wasn't ready to forgive or forget. Stacey's fall wasn't about fading talent. It was about how fast the industry drops people when their image no longer fits its narrative. 1. Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba Gooding Jr. went from shouting, "Show me the money," in Jerry Maguire, to holding his own Oscar, a symbol of ultimate Hollywood success. For a while, he was unstoppable, moving from blockbusters to biopics, proving he could do it all. But after a string of poor film choices and off-screen controversies, the charm that once made him beloved started to fade in the public eye. Hollywood, known for its short patience, slowly backed away. Instead of more Oscar-worthy roles, Cuba found himself in direct-to-video projects and smaller TV appearances. Then came the legal issues and allegations that further damaged his reputation. Even though he's still a talented actor with an undeniable presence, the industry seems to have moved on. His story is a reminder that in Hollywood, one wrong turn can erase years of hard work. Cuba Gooding Jr. went from being a shining symbol of success to another example of how quickly Hollywood's love can turn into silence. Not because the talent disappears, but because forgiveness rarely comes easy in a world built on image. It's strange, isn't it, how some of the brightest stars can fade from Hollywood's sky without warning, while others with half their talent stay front and center. Whether it was studio politics, unfair stereotypes, or speaking too much truth, these actors deserved better than being erased by an industry they helped build. But maybe it's not too late for their stories to be remembered and their talent to shine again. Which of these actors do you think deserves a comeback the most? If you enjoyed uncovering these hidden stories, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe for more deep dives into the untold side of Hollywood. 10. Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes once stood at the very top of Hollywood. In the 90s, he was the action star audiences couldn't get enough of. He showed off his range in films like New Jack City, White Men Can't Jump, and Passenger 57, but it was Blade that cemented his place in pop culture. Long before Marvel dominated theaters, Snipes made a black superhero not just believable, but iconic. He should have been enjoying decades of leading roles, yet his career took a sharp turn that proved unforgiving. The biggest blow came when Snipes was convicted of failing to file federal income taxes for several years. In 2008, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison, a punishment that completely derailed his momentum. Studios suddenly saw him as a risk rather than a box office star. Adding to his troubles, reports from the set of Blade Trinity painted him as unprofessional and combative. Word spread quickly in Hollywood, and the reputation of being difficult to work with stuck. When Snipes was released in 2013, the industry had already moved on to fresh faces and new franchises. He managed to land supporting roles in films like The Expendables 3 and Coming to America, but these appearances were reminders of how far he had fallen from his leading man days. For a star who once proved that a black actor could dominate the superhero genre, the reality is stark. Wesley Snipes is now one of those actors Hollywood won't hire anymore. 9. Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown's career began with immense promise. As Eddie Thomas on Disney Channel's That's So Raven, he was funny, likable, and overflowing with talent. Audiences loved his comedic timing and the way he lit up every scene. He seemed destined for a bright future in Hollywood, with the ability to act, rap, and even sing. But what should have been the start of a long career instead turned into a cautionary tale of how quickly it can all unravel. Once the Disney show ended in 2007, Brown's life spiraled into chaos. Headlines no longer focused on his acting roles, but on his repeated arrests. Charges ranged from drug possession and DUI to domestic violence and burglary. His battle with addiction only worsened things, making him unreliable and unstable in the eyes of casting directors. In Hollywood, dependability is everything, and once an actor is seen as a liability, opportunities dry up fast. Brown tried to stage comebacks with small projects, but the stigma followed him everywhere. Each new arrest overshadowed his talent, making it harder to convince producers that he could be trusted. What makes his story especially heartbreaking is that his natural ability was undeniable. He had the energy and skills to become a lasting star, but personal demons derailed it all. Today, Orlando Brown stands as a clear example of a once promising actor Hollywood won't hire anymore. 8. Stacey Dash. Stacey Dash was once the face of cool and confidence. Her breakout role as Dion in the 1995 teen classic Clueless made her a household name. She had beauty, charisma, and the kind of screen presence that could have easily carried her into long-term Hollywood stardom. For a while, she picked up supporting roles in television and smaller films, but she never quite reached the A-list level many thought she deserved. Then, instead of fading quietly, she became a lightning rod for controversy. In 2014, Dash made headlines not for her acting, but for joining Fox News as a political commentator. She voiced strong and often divisive opinions on race, gender, and politics that angered many of her fans. From criticizing President Obama and Beyoncé to suggesting Black History Month shouldn't exist, Dash alienated much of the community that once supported her. Even Fox eventually suspended her for an outburst on live TV. Hollywood, which is famously sensitive about public image, quickly distanced itself. Casting directors were hesitant to attach her to projects that might stir up backlash. Roles dried up, and she went from being a cultural icon of the 90s to a name associated more with controversy than talent. Stacey Dash later admitted regret for some of her comments, but by then, the damage was already done. Her story is a prime example of how quickly Hollywood can turn its back, and why she now sits among the black actors Hollywood won't hire anymore. 7. Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard once looked unstoppable. With powerful performances in films like Hustle and Flow, which earned him an Oscar nomination, and roles in Crash and Iron Man, he was positioned as one of Hollywood's most versatile black actors. He could deliver intensity, charm, and vulnerability, all in the same scene. At one point, it seemed certain he would become a permanent fixture in blockbuster movies. But behind the scenes, things were far less glamorous. Howard's personal life was filled with controversy. Multiple ex-wives accused him of domestic violence, and in interviews, he admitted to incidents that confirmed those troubling reports. For Hollywood, which relies heavily on image and reputation, these revelations painted him as toxic. The trouble didn't stop there. During the Iron Man saga, Howard had a very public fallout with Marvel Studios after disputes about his salary. When he refused to return for the sequel, the role of James Rhodes was recast with Don Cheadle, signaling that studios were ready to move on without him. In later years, Howard sued Fox and his talent agency, claiming financial disputes during his time on the hit series Empire. He also faced issues with unpaid taxes, further tarnishing his public image. Though undeniably talented, his reputation as difficult became too heavy a burden in an industry that values predictability. Once celebrated as a rising star, Terrence Howard's career stalled, and he remains a powerful reminder of how quickly Hollywood shuts its doors. He is firmly on the list of black actors the industry won't hire anymore. 6. Anthony Anderson. Anthony Anderson spent decades building one of the most recognizable careers in comedy. From films like Barbershop and Kangaroo Jack to his unforgettable role as Dre Johnson in the hit sitcom Blackish, Anderson became a household name. His ability to bring humor, warmth, and energy to the screen earned him critical praise, multiple Emmy nominations, and a loyal fan base. For years, it seemed like he could do no wrong, but Hollywood has a short memory when controversy strikes. In 2018, Anderson's reputation took a major hit when he was investigated by the LAPD for sexual assault. Though prosecutors ultimately declined to press charges due to a lack of evidence, the story dominated headlines and cast a shadow over his career. For an actor who had spent years cultivating a family-friendly image, the accusations left a lasting mark, even without a conviction. Since then, Anderson's roles have noticeably shifted. While he hasn't disappeared from the spotlight, the offers of major leading roles have slowed. Instead of headlining sitcoms like Blackish, he's been hosting shows, making guest appearances, and working more behind the scenes. Hosting the Primetime Emmy Awards and a family game show with his mother kept him visible, but it's a far cry from being the face of one of ABC's biggest comedies. Anthony Anderson remains talented and popular, but Hollywood's caution is clear. In an industry that protects its brand above all else, his name is now linked with controversy, making him one of the black actors Hollywood won't hire the same way anymore. 5. Gary Dourdan. Gary Dourdan's story is one of Hollywood's most striking falls from grace. In the early 2000s, he became a household name, playing Warwick Brown on CSI, Crime Scene Investigation, one of the most watched shows on television. With his undeniable charisma and strong screen presence, Dourdan looked like he was destined for long-term success. Fans adored him, and the industry had every reason to believe he could transition into even bigger roles. But the personal battles he faced would end up overshadowing all of that. In 2008, Dourdan was arrested for drug possession, a moment that changed how both fans and Hollywood executives viewed him. Though the charges were eventually dropped, the damage to his reputation was real. Just a few years later, in 2011, he was arrested again, this time for drugs and felony battery after a fight with his girlfriend. Reports claimed he broke her nose, and he was sentenced to probation. The negative publicity grew, making it impossible to ignore. On top of his legal troubles, Dourdan also struggled financially. By 2012, he had filed for bankruptcy, admitting he could no longer keep up with mounting debts. While his exit from CSI was tied to the end of his contract, his personal controversies made it nearly impossible for him to secure big roles afterward. Today, Gary Dourdan works mostly in small independent films and television projects that don't garner mainstream attention. Once a breakout star, he is now a clear example of a black actor Hollywood won't hire anymore. 4. Mo'Nique. Mo'Nique's rise was the kind of Hollywood dream that seemed unstoppable. She started as a stand-up comedian, bringing raw honesty and sharp humor to every stage. Then came her powerhouse performance in Precious, 2009, which earned her an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. That win should have launched her into elite stardom, with endless opportunities in both film and television. Instead, it became the start of a long and painful battle with Hollywood itself. After Precious, Mo'Nique refused to promote the film at international events without being paid, arguing that unpaid work wasn't in her contract. While she saw it as standing up for herself, powerful names in the industry saw it as defiance. She later accused Lee Daniels, Oprah Winfrey, and Tyler Perry of blackballing her from future projects. Her willingness to speak openly about the unequal treatment of black women in Hollywood made her a symbol of courage to some, but to studios, she became difficult. Her legal battles continued in 2019 when she sued Netflix for offering her far less than other comedians for a stand-up special. Mo'Nique called it discrimination based on both race and gender. While many supported her stance, the lawsuit reinforced her reputation as a troublemaker in the eyes of Hollywood executives. Years later, Mo'Nique reconciled with Lee Daniels and returned to work with him, sparking hope for a comeback. Still, for more than a decade, she lived as proof that Hollywood doesn't forgive easily. For all her talent, Monique remains one of the black actors Hollywood won't hire anymore. 3. Cuba Gooding Jr. When Cuba Gooding Jr. shouted, "Show me the money," in Jerry Maguire, he wasn't just delivering an iconic line, he was cementing himself as one of Hollywood's brightest stars. His performance won him an Academy Award, and audiences expected him to soar to the top of the industry. For a while, it looked like he would. But the roles that followed didn't live up to his Oscar win, and soon his career began to slip. Then came the scandals that erased almost everything he had built. In 2019, Cuba was arrested after being accused of misconduct in a New York bar. That incident opened the door for more than 20 women to step forward with similar accusations. The headlines were devastating, and his image as a likable star completely crumbled. Though he avoided serious jail time by pleading guilty to a lesser charge, the sheer number of allegations was impossible for Hollywood to ignore. Studios quickly distanced themselves. Even with his immense talent, he became too controversial to attach to major projects. He tried to stay active with smaller films and television appearances, but the momentum he once had never returned. For an actor who once stood at the top, his fall was both steep and permanent. Cuba Gooding Jr. is a reminder that in Hollywood, reputation matters just as much as talent. Once your name is associated with a scandal on such a large scale, doors rarely open again. That's why he remains one of the black actors Hollywood won't hire anymore. 2. Isaiah Washington. Isaiah Washington's career should have reached legendary heights. He was already respected for his film roles, but his breakthrough came as Dr. Preston Burke on Grey's Anatomy. At the time, it was one of the most popular television shows, and Washington's character was central to its success. He had charisma, presence, and a growing fan base. But in 2007, everything changed after an on-set incident that Hollywood has never let him forget. Washington got into a heated argument with co-star Patrick Dempsey, and during the exchange, he used a homophobic slur. Reports later suggested the remark was directed at fellow cast member T.R. Knight, who soon after publicly came out as gay. The controversy exploded when Washington repeated the same slur backstage at the Golden Globes while denying he had ever used it. The backlash was swift, and ABC decided not to renew his contract. The fallout was devastating. Washington went from being a series regular on a top-rated show to struggling for roles. He later admitted the incident cost him almost everything: his agent, his publicist, and his standing in Hollywood. Though he managed a few comebacks, such as appearing on The 100, he never returned to the same level of fame or influence. His talent was never in question, but in the eyes of Hollywood, the scandal defined him. Once at the center of a hit show, Isaiah Washington's career became a cautionary tale, placing him firmly among the black actors Hollywood won't hire anymore. 1. Jussie Smollett. Few Hollywood stories have crashed harder than Jussie Smollett's. As Jamal Lyon on the hit series Empire, he was adored by fans for his acting, singing, and the representation he brought to television. Smollett was not just another star, he was a symbol of progress, a young black actor openly playing a gay character on primetime TV. His future looked limitless. But in 2019, his name became synonymous with scandal after an incident that shocked the world. Smollett reported that he had been the victim of a hate crime in Chicago, claiming he was attacked by two men shouting racist and homophobic slurs. At first, he was met with sympathy and support from across the country. But as police investigated, the story unraveled. Authorities concluded that Smollett had staged the attack, hiring two acquaintances to carry it out in hopes of boosting his career. The revelation turned admiration into outrage. He was charged with filing a false police report, eventually convicted, and sentenced to jail time, though his conviction was later overturned on a legal technicality. Still, the damage to his career was irreversible. Empire cut ties with him, and no major studio or network has dared to cast him since. Jussie Smollett went from rising star to one of the most notorious figures in recent Hollywood history. Even with his conviction overturned, the stigma remains, and his career has been left in ruins. His downfall is the clearest example of why he now tops the list of black actors Hollywood won't hire anymore. These 10 actors prove just how fast Hollywood can turn its back. Fame, talent, and even awards weren't enough to protect them. Once scandal, controversy, or personal struggles took center stage. Some tried to rebuild, others disappeared completely, and a few are still fighting to be seen as more than their mistakes. Hollywood has a long history of closing its doors, But sometimes comebacks happen in the most unexpected ways. So here's the big question. Which of these stars do you believe deserves another shot at redemption? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button if you enjoyed this deep dive, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories from behind the spotlight. Your support helps us keep uncovering the Hollywood truths they don't want you to hear. 14. Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy was once the king of comedy, a superstar who made the world laugh with his wit and energy. But away from the spotlight, his personal life turned into the kind of drama even Hollywood couldn't script. His marriage to Nicole Mitchell seemed picture-perfect at first, but whispers of infidelity started surfacing, slowly chipping away at that image. Allegations of cheating didn't just hurt his family life, they also reshaped how fans viewed him. For a comedian who often played lovable characters, the scandal painted him in a very different light. The divorce that followed made everything worse, as the tabloids highlighted every detail. Instead of focusing on his talent, the conversation often turned to his unfaithful behavior. This shift was damaging, especially since Murphy had built a reputation as a family man while also being one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. Even though he continued to land projects and remained successful, the scandal became part of his identity. For someone who spent decades perfecting the art of making people smile, the cheating controversy was a wound that left a lasting scar on his public image. 13. Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes rose to fame as one of Hollywood's most electrifying action stars, a man who could dominate the big screen with style and strength. Audiences admired his powerful performances, but behind the cameras, his personal relationships were far less steady. Rumors of infidelity swirled around him for years, each one adding fuel to the fire that he wasn't as faithful as fans once thought. The cheating allegations not only damaged his romantic life, but also gave the media endless stories that overshadowed his career achievements. For an actor who brought larger-than-life heroes to the screen, these scandals chipped away at the respect people had for him. His divorces, coupled with reports of betrayal, painted him as reckless with those closest to him. Instead of being remembered only for his groundbreaking roles in films like Blade, he was also remembered for his messy, personal choices. These stories created a lasting mark on his reputation, reminding everyone that even the toughest action star can be brought down by scandal. Wesley Snipes' career endured, but the shadow of infidelity followed him everywhere. 12. Martin Lawrence. Martin Lawrence was one of the brightest comedy stars of the 90s, delivering blockbuster films and hit shows that made him a household name. But while his humor connected with millions, his private life told a different story. His marriage to Patricia Southall ended with painful cheating allegations that rocked his family and reputation. The scandal didn't just break his home, it also became tabloid fodder that followed him for years. For someone who built a career on making people laugh, the headlines painted him in a far less flattering light. As Lawrence's fame grew, the personal chaos grew louder. Later relationships also carried rumors of infidelity, leaving fans questioning whether the comedian they adored was living a double life. The cheating scandals left a permanent dent in his image, with many people remembering the drama as much as his talent. Though he remained successful, starring in Bad Boys and other hits, his personal reputation never fully recovered. The shadow of scandal lingered, proving that even the funniest man in Hollywood couldn't joke his way out of the damage caused by infidelity. 11. Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard built his career on unforgettable performances, bringing intensity and charisma to every role. From Hustle and Flow to Empire, he became one of the most respected actors in Hollywood. But outside the set, Howard's personal life spiraled into a storm of controversies, many linked to allegations of infidelity. His marriages often ended in bitter splits, with cheating stories fueling the breakdowns and feeding the tabloids with endless drama. For a man who thrived on playing complicated characters, his real-life narrative was just as messy. Howard's repeated relationship troubles damaged the leading man image he once enjoyed. Instead of being celebrated solely for his craft, he became the subject of gossip columns that focused more on betrayal than artistry. Fans and industry insiders alike saw the scandals chip away at his credibility, making it harder for people to separate his work from his personal choices. Even during the height of the Empire's success, the stories of infidelity never truly went away. Terrence Howard's cheating scandals proved that fame could amplify every mistake, leaving scars that no award or hit role could erase. 10. Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba Gooding Jr. went from Oscar glory with Jerry Maguire to tabloid scandal in just a few years. At first, fans adored him as the charming, energetic actor who could light up any screen. But behind the scenes, his marriage to Sarah Kapfer was under constant strain, with reports of infidelity surfacing again and again. Allegations of cheating became part of the story of their long relationship, eventually leading to a public split that turned into gossip headlines. The cheating scandal didn't just wound his family, it also made people view him differently as a star. Instead of being remembered as Hollywood's golden boy, Gooding's image started slipping toward one of scandal and personal recklessness. The breakup and betrayal rumors stayed in the spotlight longer than his film projects, showing how quickly Hollywood can turn on its stars. For someone who once held the highest recognition in the industry, being remembered for infidelity was a painful fall. His story became a reminder of how fast public admiration can turn into lasting damage when cheating becomes the headline. 9. Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart was at the top of the world, selling out arenas, starring in hit movies, and building a brand as one of comedy's biggest names. But all that success took a sharp hit when a cheating scandal rocked his personal life. In 2017, a video surfaced that appeared to show Hart being unfaithful while on tour. The story exploded overnight, with tabloids and social media turning the betrayal into worldwide news. Suddenly, the comedian famous for his relatable stories was caught in one of the most humiliating scandals of the decade. Hart made a public apology to his wife Aniko, but the damage was already done. For months, the cheating story overshadowed his work, putting cracks in his carefully built image as a family man. What hurt most was how the scandal clashed with the personal values he often spoke about on stage. Though he managed to rebuild his career, the infidelity became a permanent stain in his story. Kevin Hart's scandal showed that even the most successful stars can be brought down when private mistakes go public. 8. Chris Rock. Chris Rock is one of the sharpest minds in comedy, famous for tackling tough subjects with fearless humor. But even he couldn't joke his way out of the fallout from infidelity. After years of marriage to Malak Compton, Rock admitted in interviews that he had cheated multiple times during their relationship. For fans, this confession was shocking because Rock often built his comedy around family, love, and the struggles of everyday relationships. The revelation shattered the wholesome side of his image and gave critics fresh material to use against him. The divorce that followed turned into a painful public affair, with the cheating stories leading every headline. What made it worse was how Rock's own admission added fuel to the fire. He wasn't just accused, he openly acknowledged it. That level of honesty may have been bold, but it also cemented the scandal in his career narrative. For someone so respected in comedy, the cheating confessions became a part of his legacy. Instead of being remembered only for his brilliance on stage, Rock's story of betrayal added a heavy layer to his public persona. 7. Malik Yoba. Malik Yoba built his career on memorable roles in shows like New York Undercover and films that gave him a loyal fan base. Known for his charisma and ability to play both strong and vulnerable characters, Yoba seemed to embody stability. But his personal life told a more chaotic story. Rumors of infidelity surrounded him, straining his relationships and making their way into the media. Cheating scandals chipped at the image he had carefully built and turned the spotlight away from his work. For Yoba, the damage was lasting. Fans who once saw him as a role model began questioning his private choices. The whispers of betrayal didn't just end marriages, they also created a reputation he struggled to shake off. In Hollywood, where perception is everything, these kinds of stories stick. His name became linked with scandal more than success, pushing his career into a quieter phase. Malik Yoba's situation showed how infidelity can destroy not just love, but also the respect an actor spends years building in front of the camera. 6. Michael Ealy. Michael Ealy became one of Hollywood's favorite leading men, admired for his piercing blue eyes and his ability to play romantic, heartfelt roles. On screen, he seemed like the perfect partner every fan dreamed of. But off-screen, his personal life wasn't free of controversy. Over the years, whispers of infidelity circulated, suggesting that the man who played devoted lovers in films wasn't always as loyal in real life. These rumors, though never fully silenced, chipped away at the carefully built image of a family man. In Hollywood, perception can be everything, and for someone like Ealy, cheating rumors cast a long shadow. Fans who admired his roles in Think Like a Man and Barbershop started seeing him through a different lens, questioning whether the devotion he displayed on screen matched reality. Though he continued to work steadily and deliver strong performances, the conversations about his alleged unfaithfulness followed him. For an actor who built his career on trust and likability, Infidelity rumors became a stain that distracted from his talent and left his reputation marked by scandal. 5. Boris Kodjoe. Boris Kodjoe was admired as one of Hollywood's most picture-perfect stars. Handsome, charismatic, and deeply respected for his family-oriented image, he seemed untouchable. His marriage to actress Nicole Ari Parker was often celebrated as one of the strongest unions in the industry. But even this golden image wasn't safe from the sting of cheating rumors. Gossip blogs and tabloids often speculated about infidelity, dragging his name into scandal stories that clashed with everything fans thought they knew about him. The impact was heavy because Kodjoe's career thrived on the image of stability and loyalty. For someone constantly cast as the ideal man, whispers of cheating struck at the heart of his appeal. Even when he and his wife denied or moved past the rumors, the damage was done. His perfect reputation was no longer flawless. The mere association with scandal was enough to taint his public persona. While he remained successful in television and film, the cheating stories became a dark cloud hanging over his career. For Boris Kodjoe, the rumors proved that even the most admired image could be shaken when infidelity entered the conversation. 4. Columbus Short. Columbus Short rose to fame with his breakout role on Scandal, where his talent and charisma earned him a loyal following. But while his career looked promising, his personal life was consumed by controversy. Cheating scandals, along with other highly publicized troubles, became a central part of his story. Reports of infidelity surfaced during his marriages, leading to painful splits and fueling the narrative that Short couldn't keep his personal life stable. For an actor whose career was just reaching its peak, this kind of drama was devastating. The cheating stories didn't exist in isolation. They came alongside accusations of violence and substance abuse, which only magnified the damage. His exit from Scandal shocked fans, but many connected it to his chaotic personal life. Instead of being remembered solely for his talent, he became a symbol of wasted potential. The betrayals and infidelity scandals played a key role in destroying the trust audiences once had in him. For Columbus Short, infidelity wasn't just a private mistake. It was one of the scandals that tore apart a rising career before it could fully blossom. 3. Eric Benet. Eric Benet may be best known as a musician, but his acting career and Hollywood ties made him part of the entertainment world's spotlight. His marriage to Halle Berry turned him into a household name, but it was also the stage for one of the most infamous cheating scandals in black celebrity history. Reports of his repeated infidelity shocked fans, especially since Berry was seen as one of the most admired women in Hollywood. The scandal grew so large that Benet eventually admitted to battling what he called a sex addiction. But the confession did little to save his reputation. The cheating destroyed not only his marriage but also his public image. Instead of being remembered for his music or acting roles, he became the man who betrayed Halle Berry. That label stuck, overshadowing his talent and opportunities in Hollywood. For years, interviews and headlines focused less on his work and more on his unfaithful past. Eric Benet's scandal proved how one betrayal can redefine a career, turning a rising star into a cautionary tale about fame, relationships, and the heavy cost of infidelity. 2. Taye Diggs. Taye Diggs built his career on charm, starring in films like How Stella Got Her Groove Back and Brown Sugar. For years, he was admired as both a talented actor and a family man, especially during his marriage to Idina Menzel. But rumors of infidelity started surfacing, creating cracks in the perfect image fans once celebrated. When the marriage ended, cheating whispers were among the reasons most talked about in tabloids. The scandal damaged his reputation because so much of his career had been built on the idea of romantic leading roles. Fans found it harder to separate the man on screen from the stories off-screen. Even though Diggs continued working, the cheating rumors remained attached to his name. Instead of being seen only as the smooth star of stage and film, his image became tied to betrayal, leaving a shadow on his career that still lingers. 1. Larenz Tate. Larenz Tate is widely respected for his powerful roles in classics like Menace to Society and Love Jones. On screen, he played characters who were passionate, loyal, and deeply admired by audiences. But behind the scenes, cheating allegations surrounded him, tarnishing the family man image he had worked so hard to maintain. The gossip media thrived on these stories, highlighting how infidelity rumors strained his longtime marriage and personal life. For Tate, whose career depended on the trust and admiration of fans, the cheating scandals created a noticeable shift. Instead of being celebrated solely for his artistry, conversations often veered toward betrayal. Even though he kept landing roles and maintained a steady career, the narrative of infidelity never completely disappeared. His story shows how one rumor, amplified by Hollywood's spotlight, can change the way an actor is remembered. Tate's reputation, once spotless, was forever marked by whispers of scandal, affairs, and the heavy cost of infidelity. Cheating scandals don't just destroy marriages, they destroy careers, reputations, and the trust of fans who once looked up to these stars. From comedy legends to action heroes, these stories prove that no amount of fame can shield someone from the consequences of betrayal. Some managed to rebuild, while others faded under the weight of their own mistakes. But here's the real question. Do you think Hollywood ever truly forgives, or are these actors forever trapped by their scandals? If you found this breakdown shocking, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with your friends. And don't forget to ring the bell so you never miss the wildest stories from Hollywood's hidden past.